When the mind finally grows quiet enough to listen, it begins to hear what words have never been able to teach. Most of our lives are spent chasing explanations, arranging thoughts, and trying to make sense of every twist and turn. Yet the deepest wisdom rarely arrives as an idea. It comes as a gentle shift inside us, a softening, a clarity that appears without being summoned. Many people believe wisdom is something acquired through effort, as though the mind must climb some grand mountain of understanding. But inner wisdom does not shout. It is more like a distant temple bell carried by the wind, heard only when the noise within us subsides. The less we strain to hear it, the more clearly it arrives. Often the mind tries to solve life the way a carpenter measures wood, with precision and control. But the heart learns in a different way. It absorbs the shape of experience without needing to dissect it. When we allow life to unfold without forcing it to match our expectations, a quiet insight begins to grow. This insight is not about knowing more. It is about seeing more, truthfully. There is a subtle moment when the mind stops pushing for answers and simply rests in awareness. In that moment, understanding arises naturally, like light filling an empty room. Nothing has been added, yet everything becomes clearer. This is the unspoken path, where wisdom arises not from searching, but from allowing. If we learn to trust this silent intelligence within us, we discover that clarity does not come from controlling life. It comes from being present with it. The mind listens, the heart responds, and wisdom flows without effort. Life is always speaking to us, yet we rarely notice its quiet teachings. We expect wisdom to appear in profound experiences, in dramatic revelations, in moments that feel meaningful and extraordinary. But inner wisdom is woven into the smallest and most ordinary parts of our day. A passing breeze, a delayed train, a sudden conversation with a stranger. These simple moments often carry the lessons we overlook. There is a gentle intelligence in the flow of everyday life. It nudges us when we rush, slows us when we push too hard, and opens unexpected paths when we feel stuck. But to perceive this guidance, we must step back from the noise of our assumptions. When we see each moment not as an interruption, but as part of the teaching, life itself becomes our quiet teacher. A person who walks mindfully through the world begins to notice how life mirrors the state of their heart. When we are restless, everything feels like an obstacle. When we are calm, even difficulties offer insight. Life does not need to change for us to learn. Our way of seeing needs to soften. When we stop insisting that each moment should please us, we begin to hear what it is trying to show us. Even discomfort has something to teach. A difficult emotion is not an enemy, but a messenger. A moment of frustration reveals where we cling. A moment of disappointment shows where we hoped for certainty. When we welcome these small disruptions with curiosity instead of resistance, they reveal the layers of ourselves we have not yet understood. In this way, every ordinary moment becomes a doorway. Wisdom does not hide from us. It waits patiently in the places we rarely look. When we learn to meet life gently, we discover that the silent teacher has been walking beside us all along. There comes a time when the mind grows exhausted from its constant pursuit. It jumps from one explanation to another, hoping that the next idea, the next achievement, the next moment of clarity will finally bring peace. But answers gathered in this way rarely satisfy for long. As soon as one question quiets, another rises to take its place. The mind becomes a traveler who never rests, always packing for the next journey. Yet wisdom does not bloom in the soil of frantic searching. It appears when we pause long enough to feel what is already here. When we stop chasing answers something remarkable happens. The questions themselves begin to loosen their grip. Without the pressure of needing everything resolved, the heart opens, and understanding flows with a simplicity we cannot force. Sometimes the mind demands certainty because it fears the unknown. It believes that clarity must arrive fully formed, like a lantern illuminating a dark path. But inner wisdom grows more quietly. It reveals itself gradually, like dawn light spreading across the horizon, soft, subtle, and patient. This kind of knowing does not erase uncertainty. It teaches us how to stand gently within it. When we stop insisting that life explain itself to us, we begin to hear a deeper truth. Not every mystery needs solving, and not every feeling needs controlling. Some things are understood only when we stop trying to understand them. Insight arrives not as a conclusion, but as a shift in perception. What once felt tangled becomes simple. What once felt heavy becomes light. To stop chasing answers is not an act of giving up. It is an act of trust. We trust that what needs to become clear will do so in its own time. We trust that our inner wisdom is not something distant, but something already alive within us. When the chasing ends, the seeing begins. There is a limit to what effort can achieve. We are taught to push, to strive, to chase results with unwavering determination. Effort has its place, but inner wisdom moves differently. It emerges in stillness, not in struggle. Just as a pond becomes clear only when the water stops trembling, the mind reveals its deepest truths when it is allowed to rest. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means doing without tension. It is the quiet state where the mind stops wrestling with itself. In this gentle pause, something within us begins to realign. Thoughts settle. Emotions soften. The noise that once felt overwhelming begins to separate into distinct echoes, each revealing its nature without distortion. Many people fear stillness because they believe it leads to stagnation. Yet stillness is not the absence of growth. It is the space where true transformation happens. When we stop interfering with life, our inner landscape begins to organize itself. Confusion untangles. Wounds we have ignored rise gently to the surface. Clarity takes shape without force, like a flower opening according to its own rhythm. Every moment of stillness is a return to ourselves. We step out of the stream of constant doing and reconnect with the quiet awareness that has always been present beneath our thoughts. In that awareness, we realize we are not defined by our worries or our expectations. We are something deeper, something spacious and unchanging. From this place, challenges lose some of their weight, and we meet life with a steadier heart. Effort may help us build the outer world, but stillness shapes the inner world. It teaches us what effort cannot, that peace does not come from controlling our circumstances, but from discovering the quiet center within us. When we rest in that center, wisdom rises naturally, as effortlessly as breath. There is a path within each of us that cannot be mapped by logic or explained through instruction. It is not drawn by tradition, nor fixed by expectation. This path reveals itself only when we learn to follow the quiet movements of the heart, movements so subtle that the mind often overlooks them. Yet they guide us more truthfully than any external rule or promise. The heart's wisdom does not speak in arguments or conclusions. It speaks in gentle nudges, in a sense of ease that grows when we move in the right direction, and in a quiet tension when we drift away from what is true. To walk the inner path, we must learn to notice these shifts, The heart does not demand, but it never misleads. It asks only that we listen. Many people try to walk their lives using borrowed wisdom, advice from others, ideas from books, ideals inherited without question. But the unspoken path is unique for each person. What brings peace to one may bring confusion to another. What inspires one may leave another untouched. True wisdom honors these differences. It teaches us to trust our own unfolding, rather than imitate the journeys of others. As we follow the heart's guidance, we discover that the path is not linear. It curves, pauses, doubles back, and sometimes disappears into silence. In those moments of uncertainty, the mind grows anxious, wanting to know the outcome before taking the next step. But the heart teaches us to walk without seeing the whole road. One step of clarity is enough. The next step appears only when we are ready. The unspoken path is walked not with force, but with sincerity. It requires courage, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet willingness to be honest with ourselves. When we let the heart lead, we move with a trust that does not rely on guarantees. We begin to sense a deeper harmony in our choices. We begin to feel at home within our own life. In the end, this path cannot be taught, it can only be lived. It invites us to turn inward, to listen deeply, and to walk gently. And as we do, we discover that inner wisdom has always been waiting, patiently, for us to return. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll be notified when I publish a new video. Namaste.